Motorola released the original Moto X to the excitement of many. The phone started a brand new era for Motorola in both design and in the goal of their phones. This all continued into the second generation of the device, the 2014 Moto X. But with newer phones available, is this device worth buying? I'm Ben with iTechTriad, and this is our video review of the 2014 Moto X. Now first, let me make a note. Our Moto X review is late, really late. The reason for this is because we wanted to ensure that we could bring you the best review that we could, and we had to wait for the Android Lollipop update to do that. Now, that took a little bit because we were using an AT&T review unit, which it took a little longer to get that update. But now that it's here, we can get into the review. First, let's talk about the hardware. The Moto X of 2013 was a hard phone to top as far as looks, but the plastic body could have used some improvements. That's exactly what Motorola did in this version. Instead of developing an entirely new design, Motorola tweaked their previous design and improved the hardware. Now, this time we have a metal chassis and front-facing speakers, however the same customizability is still around. You can still change the material and color of the backplate and the accent colors of the front-facing speakers and metallic dimple on the back. The hardware itself still feels absolutely wonderful in the hand, and it's more sturdy than ever. There's no need to worry about this phone bending. It's probably one of the most sturdy devices I've ever felt. Next, let's talk about software. Now, Motorola sticks to a near-stock Android build, but with some key enhancements. These enhancements essentially come from one area, the Moto suite. Inside that suite is Moto Assist, Moto Voice, Moto Display, and Moto Actions. So let's go ahead and talk about all four of those. First, let's talk about the one you probably know the most about, and that's Moto Display. The Moto Display takes advantage of the AMOLED screen technology to give you notifications in an elegant and unique way. Now, when notifications are received or when the phone is picked up off the table, the display lights up just a few of the pixels to show you the time and a few notifications. The Moto Assist helps you to use the phone more effectively in your daily life. You can set the phone to do a handful of different things when you're at home, when you're driving, when you're sleeping, or when you're in a meeting. For example, when you're sleeping, or supposed to be sleeping. The phone will stay completely silent except for emergency calls, and will also turn off Moto Display during that set sleep period, so that way you don't get bothered by the light turning on. Now, Moto Voice reacts to your voice even when the phone is asleep. This was one of the most exciting features of the original Moto X and continues to be a fan favorite and one of my favorite parts about the phone. Simply saying your launch phrase will turn on the phone and launch a screen which will listen to your commands, and Motorola even enhanced this feature for the 2014 Moto X with the ability to add a custom launch phrase. In theory, anything will work, but longer phrases tend to work better. Now, Moto Actions uses the phone sensors to automate certain functions. For example, when you're raising the phone off the table or taking it out of your pocket, it will turn on Moto Display. If you wave your hand over the front of the phone, it will use the 4 IR sensors on the front to enable Moto Display as well. Now, another action within Moto Actions is a double twist to open the camera. I found this extremely useful and I really do miss it on every other phone. And it's even enhanced a little bit more because if you twist one more time, you get to the front-facing camera, which I'm not going to use very often, but it's a very nice feature. Speaking of the camera, the Moto X has a 13 megapixel shooter on the back. The original Moto X had a fairly poor 10 megapixel camera, but this one is notably better. It's still not a great camera, but it gets the job done, and it gets it done fairly well. Now, the camera app itself is decent, but again, it's not the best. Powering the Moto X is a 2300 mAh battery, which gets you pretty decent battery life. The capacity is low, but it'll usually get you through a day of light use without a problem. However, if you use the phone a bit more, it's probably not going to get you through the entire day because the battery life really isn't that great on more use. Motorola could have made up for this by including a slightly larger battery or even Qi wireless charging. Now, the one thing they did do to combat the battery life was to include the ability to use a turbocharger for very quick charging speeds. But unfortunately, the phone doesn't come with one, and that's a bit of a downside because the charger on its own costs $35. Now, one more thing worth highlighting on the Moto X is the front-facing speakers. On the front, we've got two spaces for front-facing speakers, however, only one of them is actually a speaker, the other is the earpiece. Now, it's a good speaker and it gets fairly loud, but it's not amazing. However, I have to give Motorola a lot of credit for putting it on the front, and here's a sample of audio coming from the phone.
On your left. On your left.
On my left. Got it. Don't say it. Don't you say
On
it.
your left.
Come on!
So overall, what's the verdict? Is the Moto X 2014 still worth buying, especially in early 2015? I'd have to say yes, it's still a great phone that can compare to almost anything else on the market. It's fast, it has a decent camera, and it has excellent hardware. Now the Moto X 2014 is available for, at the moment, $399 unlocked, and starts at just 99 cents on a 2-year contract. Either way, that's a great asking price for an excellent phone. Now that's going to go ahead and wrap up our review of the 2014 Moto X. If you enjoyed it, be sure to give it a like as it helps us out a lot, and be sure to leave a comment with any questions you may have about the Moto X. If you enjoy our content, be sure to subscribe to the channel for more tech videos just like this, and if you're feeling generous, check out our Patreon campaign, which is linked down below. As always, thank you for watching, and we'll catch you in the next one.